All right, I'll let you guys. Well, first off, just want to thank y'all again for coming out today. Uh, Excited to have our home opener tomorrow night, playing a very good Southern Indiana basketball team who returns all five starters from a group that won their conference championship last year, but unfortunately, due to the NCAA rules, they weren't allowed to participate in the NCAA tournament. But I've got a ton of respect for them. Very well coached, play hard. They shoot the three well, spread you out. Just a really, really good basketball team.
Jeff, going back and watching the film from that UCLA game, was there something that maybe stood out to you during that, or was it as simple as just couldn't make shots?
Well, Matt, you're playing top five team in the country. I mean, it's not like we just sucked and we just couldn't make shots. I mean, or is that what you saw?
Fair point.
I thought it was a great college basketball game. A game that we led for, I think, 16 minutes of it. They led for 20. I mean, it wasn't a blowout. It was just a really, really good game. We obviously got hurt some on the glass, but at the same time, we got our fair share of offensive boards. We ended up with 19, I believe, to their 15. So we out-rebounded them at the offensive end. We just didn't convert as many. We had a lot of opportunities in transition that we did not convert, something that we've gone back and looked at as a team, just trying to make sure we understand the urgency in the importance of converting when you've got a 3-on-2, a 2-on-1 fast break. And then the other area that we got hurt, which is something that's very fixable, is inbound defense, both baseline out of bounds and sideline out of bounds. We just gave up one pass straight for a three, one pass straight in for a layup. Just some things you can't have happen if you want to beat a top five team. But overall, I was very, very encouraged. Thought we competed, thought we rebounded the ball compared to how we had rebounded in our two scrimmages. It was a concern of mine. We took care of the ball extremely well. Just unfortunately did not make enough shots. But it wasn't just because of that. I mean, we were playing a very good basketball team that tried to make it as difficult on us to score as we did on them. And, we held them in the 60s. And, one of the things I've always said, our magic number here offensively has been 70. If we can score 70, our record, which Nick puts in our media game, our game notes, is remarkable. So we've got to continue to work offensively to be able to make sure we don't have some of the lulls that we had.
If you've talked about the confidence you have in this group of freshmen, really since we first talked to you about them, now that you have a game of tape against that caliber of competition, the same things you liked from the summer and warm, so those still showing up in that first game tape in terms of competitiveness and grasping things a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I'm very pleased with all of them. I mean, it's just trying to get them all to understand as freshmen, it's a marathon and not a sprint. Taj played extremely well. Thought she competed, shot the ball well. I'm going to challenge her to rebound the ball more at the defensive end. But don't be surprised if it's not the exact same performance tomorrow night. And don't be surprised if you don't see another freshman all of a sudden play well. That's kind of what happens during a freshman campaign, is trying to figure out the consistency of it, game in and game out, and then trying to make sure they all understand. I'm big on a flow of a game. Like if we got somebody out there shooting the ball well, I'm keeping them out there, and we're hopefully going to play close to 40 games. So it's the first game of the year. Again, not everybody's going out and playing top five teams. I'll give credit to UCLA, to Ole Miss, and to Southern Cal. Just four great teams, two great games. And then there's a few other ones that I've seen, some other great games playing top 25 teams. But That's not the norm for the first game of the year, and that's understandable, especially with, look at us. We had 7, 8 freshmen. Would I have liked to had a game or two under the belt before we played them? Of course, but overall, very, very, very pleased, and I think you're going to see a lot of progress from all of our freshmen. If they can stay positive and keep focused on the task in front of them, I think they're all going to be really, really good players.
How encouraging was it to see her go out there as a freshman to have the game she had, and also her and McKinley, who maybe not offensively didn't have a great day, but defensively seemed to really be a presence?
Yeah, no, I was pleased with all of them. I mean, Taj played really well. My only concern was I was hoping she'd break the streak. She missed her first college shot, free throw, and I was like, if this keeps up, for her career, it could be ugly. Personally, I made my first college shot. I think I only took about 10 of them, though. But, yeah, I did make my first one. Now, I was thrilled for them all. I mean, again, it was a great environment on national TV. I don't think the stage was too big for any of them. Now, do we have a lot of work to do? Of course we do. But there's a lot of encouraging things going back when you look at that film. Do we have to make open shots? Yes. But I thought we executed extremely well to get those shots. And then time and score, shot selection, are those things we're going to work on as well? Of course. But a lot of times you come into a situation, you're used to be playing at your high school, used to be playing at your other school, wherever you came from, and you were the one that had to score the ball. You're the one that's got to shoot the ball. And now all of a sudden it's like, hey, I don't have to take a bad shot. But at the same time, I don't want to pass up a good shot. So it's a learning experience for us, and I'm really, really excited to what this team can become if we'll stay together.
Jeff, just as far as team chemistry and the trip as a whole, not even talking about what was on the court, but off the court too, what did a trip like this do for your team, kind of bringing them together? And do you feel like this helped bring your squad together as a whole?
Well, we're pretty fortunate right now to have a pretty close group. When you watch them off the floor, they get along, they socialize with each other. It was an awesome trip. I think everybody that went on the trip would tell you the same thing. We had an opportunity to see Paris, to really get immersed in the culture. Our hotel was right in a neat little opera area district. We were able to walk up and down the streets, cafes on every corner, little shopping areas. And we tried to give them, I tried to give them as much time to explore as we could. And then we had several families that made the trip as well. So we had 2 nights where we were required to do events, which was great. We had a dinner halfway up the Eiffel Tower. We did a river cruise. And I think all the kids enjoyed it. It was great. And then the other 2 nights that we didn't have those activities, we tried to give them time with their family and friends. And I thought overall it was a great trip. The kids were great. The flights, they're long but pretty uneventful, which is always a good thing. We got back, on Tuesday night, not at a terrible hour. So everybody, I thought, was able to get a pretty decent night's sleep. We had a little practice, some film yesterday that went well, and we'll get back at it today and then play tomorrow night.
Bouncing off of that, obviously it's a very fun trip. There's a lot going on, but that's also a little bit of a distraction, especially from some of your younger players. Did they show a level of maturity that impressed you to be able to play a hard game against UCLA?
Yeah, it's a great group. I mean, I will say we take a great pride when we go out recruiting also to try to look for players that have that type of maturity to be able to have fun. I wanted them to experience Paris. I mean, it's like a foreign trip. If you're going to go on foreign trips and play a game on an international scene, you don't want them sitting in the hotel. I mean, if you're going to do that, you just stay at home. So, we didn't have a written down curfew, but I didn't have to worry about it. They're all really intelligent, smart kids. They knew we were there for a basketball game, but at the same time, an opportunity to experience a different culture. And I was very, very impressed and pleased with how they handled everything.
Think Jada will be able to go tomorrow, or is she still kind of on the mend from that hamstring injury?
Well, she's still working to come back. She did a little shooting yesterday before practice. She'll do a little non-contact stuff today. See how she's feeling. But like I've said, at the end all, we're trying to make sure she's back 100% before we throw her out there on the floor, because we don't want this to become a nagging injury throughout her entire season. Well, she did exactly what we've seen her do against us the past few years at Miami. I mean, I love her personality. It's. I said it today to one of our returners. It's nice to have some transfers at times that come in. All the ones we've had have been great, but someone like Julia, she's been so appreciative of everything that we've done here, how we do things. And she had a great experience at Miami. Katie's a fantastic coach. But every once in a while, when your own players get a chance to see, okay, you know what? We got it pretty darn good here. We go on a foreign trip, this foreign game, and coaches allowing us to go out with our families. Allowing us, hey, we had practice one morning, I think it was like 9 to 8:30 to 10:30, 11. And then after that, the day was theirs. And they appreciate that. We were fortunate. I've got a wonderful administration that we were able to give them per diem money where they could go eat lunch and dinner out instead of having to do every meal in the hotel. Like, I wanted them to experience it. And Julie is just so appreciative just of everything that she's experienced here. She's a kid who's always got a smile on her face. She makes the best out of everything. Always first one to say thank you. It's just it's been great, and I mean I love the kid. And as I said, she had an unbelievable, wonderful experience with Katie at Miami. Katie's a friend of mine, and when Julia went into the transfer portal after she announced her retirement, I called Katie, and she's like, "Jeff, great kid, just unbelievable kid, unbelievable person," and everything she told me has been absolutely true. Julia wants to continue to get better. I challenged her. Her on-ball defense is elite. She takes a nap off the ball, and she's got to stop doing that. She's got to be just as good of an off-ball defender as she is on-ball defender. And then, she played 26 minutes, played so hard that she had to come out for a sub. And that's what I appreciate as well. If you're competing at a high level all the time, it's hard to stay out there for 30 minutes.
Jeff, apologies for going 30,000-foot view for a second, but when you're celebrating 50 years of a program like you are, and you're someone who's seen the game grow so much during your career, how would you tell the story of Louisville women's basketball over 50 years, meeting the people you've met, coaching in the position, and seeing how it's grown?
It's been amazing. I've been fortunate enough to have been able to be in contact, and I've gotten some emails. We're honoring Coach Hudson tomorrow night. Is the first true coach before there was AIAW, NCAA, and just hearing the stories from the players that played for her and how things have evolved. And then you go back to when they used to play at Manual High School. And guys, if you actually do the research, it wasn't that long ago. And then they moved to Cardinal Arena. And then you see the growth to Freedom Hall. And then, the vision that Tom had when this arena was built to make sure that the women's basketball team was a part of that. And then the years that we have had here. You go through, you look at all the great players that have come here, before my 18 years and then during our time here. It's been great. I'll always say, and I've said it, this will be the only head coaching job that I'm going to have in college. It's the only one. I'm not going to go be a head coach for any other women's college basketball team. I'm planning to retire here, plain and simple. And it's not very often that you get that opportunity to say you coached at one spot. And that's one of the things that I truly appreciate about our city, our community, the players that have invested in this place, is we've watched it go from 3,500 people, 2,500 people in big games at Freedom Hall to averaging close to 8,000 a night. And that's what's made this as special as it's been. In college basketball, as a coach, it's winning basketball games is what you're judged on at the end of the day. But I promise you, it's the relationships that you build as a coach throughout your time. It was really neat having the opportunity to play in Paris. But I'll tell you, one of the special moments for me was one of the young ladies I recruited to Maryland, Orly Norez, her and her family came to the game on Monday night. And we just sat there and laughed. I mean, because you're talking 2003, 2004. She was on our 2006 national championship team. And just talking about the times when I came over and watched her play at INSEP and then recruited her. And then when she landed in Dulles on her first time stepping foot in the U.S. to come to Maryland. And we've stayed in touch since. And that's what is so special about it. Her 2 kids were there, her husband, and it's what it's all about. So we're blessed to have the opportunity to give these young ladies experiences of a lifetime. And for them, what's exciting for me, it's they're so young that this was an awesome experience for a lot of them, but I promise you they're going to experience a lot more as they go forward and be able to look back on this and say, God, what a great trip it was. And that's kind of how I look at this program. We're going to continue to do great things here, but I never forget about what we've done in the past, our first few years. Golly, you go back to Angels days in Freedom Hall. Our first game here against Pat Summit in Tennessee. Shoni Schimmel's first game was that game and what she evolved into, and Bria Smith, all the players that we've had here in the past. It's just been awesome.
When it comes to recruiting, the international angle has always been a big component of it for you. So how much does that play a role when you decide to not only start this season in Paris, but also start next season in Germany?
Yeah, well, these are opportunities that come about. I mean, it's not like this was year 2 of this tournament. So when we had the phone call, I was like, golly, it'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to. And then obviously the announcement came out today. We will be heading to Germany to open up the year against UConn next year over there. Again, another opportunity that presented itself to us that I was like, God, it's too hard to pass up. I mean, it's a double-edged sword because it was scheduled to be a home game for us against UConn. This year was scheduled to be a home game. So as you can tell, Gino's been scared to come back here and play. And I tell Neil, who does his scheduling, I said, I see how y'all work, But no, these have been 2 one-offs. The game at the Barclays Center just came about, too, as an opportunity. Hey, would you guys be willing to play UConn? I'm like, God, they're supposed to come to our place. But, yeah, I think it'd be great. And then we get the call from ESPN to go over to Germany, play UConn again. So it's incredible. Now, the following year, hopefully they'll figure out the way to come back. Now, if they can get us a game on St. John somehow or something, then I'll go there and play. But besides that, in 20 whatever year that'd be, 26, 27, we're going to get them to come back here for a home game. But, I appreciate UConn and Gino and Neil who does their scheduling because they thought of us when it came to this game. So we're really excited about it.
So what does it mean, I guess, to be the team that is selected not only for that game, but the first women's basketball game in the Armed Forces Classic?
Well, I think it speaks volumes of our program. I think it also just speaks volumes of how we do things. We take great pride in how we compete on the basketball court, but we also take great pride in how we represent ourselves in the community. The number of compliments that I received from people at the hotel, the organizing group that put the tournament on in Paris. See, that's more than anything to me. That's those are the opportunities that I keep sharing with our players. Sure, they'll remember, you may have scored 20 points, you may have scored 8, but what people will never forget is how you treat them outside of basketball. What type of person are you? And we've been blessed to have wonderful, wonderful young ladies here. And we're going to continue to recruit that way. And it's our job as coaches to be an extension of their parents, trying to make sure that we're continuing to teach them the things that they learned at home. And we're honored. There's no question about it. We're absolutely honored to be a part of this.